Well, I hope everybody is having a good Saturday. It certainly is pretty outside here in Conyers and warm. We're getting ready for the big rain on Monday, though. Well, I hope everybody is having a good Saturday. It certainly is. Forgot to turn my speakers off. It's always something. Anyway, hope you all have had a good week. What we're going to be looking at today as part of our Saturday Anything Goes series is I thought I'd visit an old favorite, and that's the Post-it note holder. I've made several of these and given them to the girls at Andy's doctor's office and my doctor's office, and they're still using them. They really seem to like them. And it's a quick and easy project, so I thought it would be something perfect to do on a Saturday afternoon. So we don't take a lot of time and you guys can hopefully get out and enjoy the weather. To save time on the video, instead of going through all of the products ahead of time, I'm just going to go ahead and give them to you as we're using them. And hopefully that'll also cut down on the video. So let me just put this aside. And I'll bring out my goodie bag here. I've got everything pre-cut and ready to go. We're going to be using one of my favorite colors today, which is Calypso Coral. This just screams spring to me. And the Post-it note holder takes 2 pieces of Calypso Coral cardstock. And the nice thing is you can cut both pieces from the same 8.5 by 11 sheet. So it also is kind of a supply saver as well. So I went ahead and pre-cut my Calypso Coral. I have one piece here that is 3 3/4 by 11. And that's going to form our base. And if I bring that over here, you can see it's a nice stand. So very, very sturdy, doesn't tip over. And then for the front box, I have another piece of Calypso Coral. This one measures 4 3/4 by 7 1/4. And we're going to start out by scoring and folding these so that we can get all the pieces to fit together well. I'll start with my long piece, the 3 3/4 by 11. And I'm going to bring in my scoring board here, hopefully without knocking too many things over. And where we're going to be scoring at is 4 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches, and 10 inches. So you want to have the long side up at the top. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and with the larger end of my stylus, I'm going to score it at 4 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches, and 10 inches. There's my 10 inches here. Just like that. Put this aside and we'll come back and fold it in a moment. Now I'm going to take my shorter piece, which is the 4 3/4 by 7 1/4, and I'm going to have the short end up at the top first, because what we want to do is we want to score this at 1/2 inch on both ends. So I'll go to my 1/2, and then I could try and figure out what's 1/2 from the end, but you know what? I'm just going to rotate it 180 degrees. So I have the other side here, and again, I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to flip it long ways, and we're going to be scoring it at 4 inches and 4 1/2 inches. So there's my 4 inch mark, and there's my 4 1/2 inch mark. And then we can put our scoring tool away. That's all we need it for. The next thing I'm going to do is get out my trusty bone folder, and we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. We want to make sure we have sharp, sharp creases because that will help when we're forming our box. And then I just have 2 score lines here, one on this end and one right next to it. We do have a little bit of cutting that we need to do because we need 2 flaps here in order to, when we fold our box, secure it. I'm going to take my trusty snips and I'm going to cut just to the other side, the outside of the score line. That way we're going to get rid of those bulky score lines. And then because I want my flap to sit really neatly, I'm going to take just a little wedge out of either corner. And so in essence what I'm doing is I'm cutting away those score lines. Nope, I didn't cut that one very close, so let me take care of that. And then I'll do the same on the other side, and this is the only cutting that we're going to need to do. So on either side of the score line, and then just a slight wedge to get rid of the bulkiness. All right, before we put our box together, I'm going to bring in that longer piece, and we shouldn't need our snips for a bit, so I'll put those aside. And here it's simply a matter of folding. Now I'm going to take my first fold, which has the long piece at the top, and I'm going to go ahead, oops, scored it there, so fold it opposite, and do that. Now, the stand part is the bottom part, and we want to concertina fold this so it goes up and down. So this one I'm going to fold this way, this one the opposite way, and this one this way. And I'm going to give them all a nice burnish. And as you can see, what I'll be able to do is attach this to this, and that forms our stand. To do that, I'm going to use some good old Tombow liquid multipurpose, because I need that little bit of wiggle room it gives me. But I don't have to worry too much about lining this up. All I have to do is push all the layers down, bring the top section down, and then it lays flat right on top. I really love it when you can do that. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'll put a block on it just to give it some weight. And now we'll work on the box part. And this is really easy. It's going to come together just like this. So my flaps will come in, this will fold over, and basically it does it just like that. Get in there, you. Come on, get my flaps to cooperate. And that is going to attach to the stand. Before I glue this together, though, there are a couple more steps I want to take. First of all, I like a rounded corner at the top, and I usually forget to do this till I have the box put together, and then it's not as easy. So I'm just going to take this little corner rounder that I have and round just the top 2 corners. Make sure I get that lined up in there. Now, do that one a little bit better. There we go. And now I can work on assembling my box. So I'm going to fold my 2 flaps in and put, again, a little bit of my liquid glue. Don't have to get too crazy. Little goes a long way, and it has a very strong hold, which we like. And then, with that part laying down, I'm going to lift the back up and secure to my flap to the inside part. And you want to get it as straight as you can. And then you have to kind of hold it for a couple minutes while that glue sets. And that's what's going to give us the stability of the box being able to hold our little Post-it pads. All that's left to do is put some glue on the inside of these outside flaps. Just like that. And then I'm simply going to stand it up. Make sure that my creases meet and fold the flap over. And then again, I need to give it a moment to grab, and then I'm also going to take my bone folder and give it a good press. Being careful, I don't want to collapse my box there, but there you have it. Now the other thing that I was supposed to do and didn't was to attach my DSP to the inside. But no worries there, because I cut the DSP shorter than the box is long, it's going to be pretty easy to do that. And the DSP that I used on the one that's already made is from our daisy paper, which I absolutely love, but I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. We are almost at the end of our celebration, and I absolutely fell in love with the foil papers, the springtime foils, and I thought that it would be nice to go ahead and to use those. So I have the leaf pattern, which I went ahead and colored with my Stampin Blends. I used both the light and dark of the old olive. And then I used the floral, which I colored in again with the light and dark old olive. But for the flowers, to match our cardstock, I went with the light and the dark Calypso Coral. So this piece is going to go on the outside, and this piece is going to go on the inside. Just like that. And because, like I say, I cut it shorter than the box is long, I can easily slide it in and line it up without worrying about if the back is matching. All right, I used my Tombow. I think I like that part better, and I'm going to just slip it in there, give myself a little bit of a border, and this is why that liquid glue is nice, because I have a little bit of time to wiggle it around. And once it's in there, I'm going to use my bone folder to go ahead and give it a good press. Now we'll go ahead and attach the floral designer series paper right on top of that using my liquid glue. And this foil paper is really thick, which also gives the box some added stability. Here I want to be sure that I'm lining up the paper so it matches the inside, as well as gives me a nice little border all the way around. Now I don't want to press this way. I'm going to turn it over so I can get my bone folder in there and press it down. Our base, the glue should be done drying on. Now I can go ahead and put the two pieces together. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid glue to the back of the section we just created that has the DSP on it. And then I'm just going to take and be fumble fingered and line these up. I want to make sure that my edges are flush and that the bottom especially is flush. And I'm going to hold it so that the glue can start to set, because if I just put it down right now and put the bone folder in there and smush down, I've had the actual box part move on me, and then it's really difficult. So if I give it just a moment to set up, now I can take my bone folder and give it a really good press, making sure that all of that glue is making contact between the base and the box part. And there we have our stamp. It looks pretty as is, but I wanted to decorate it up even more. And since it is springtime and I am anxiously awaiting butterflies, I thought it would be nice to go ahead and use the Watercolor Wings stamp set. I just got this last week and I absolutely love it. And that's what I used for this butterfly. I also am going to have the opportunity to use my Stamparatus. Yay, we love our Stamparatus. So I'll bring that into the shot. And I've got one magnet, and really that's all I found I needed was the one magnet. I mean, they are so super strong that it held the paper for me just fine. And while the Stamparatus comes with 2 plates, I only needed the one because even though this stamp set, and let me bring it over here to show you, the butterfly is actually a triple layer stamp, but I decided because I wanted the yellow of the butterfly to be very muted, that instead of using straight Daffodil Delight, I wanted to use my Stampin Blends and get a light Daffodil Delight. So I'm only going to use these 2 images right here. I've got a piece of Whisper White, and let me just measure that real quick. It measures about 4 1/4 by 3 inches, and that's ample for me to be able to stamp on. I'm going to go ahead and put my paper up at the top, and I'm going to put it about in the center. I find I get a really good impression if I have the paper in the center rather than tucked all the way over on the edge. So I'll go ahead and put my magnet there. And now I will go ahead and bring out my stamps. And the first one that I'm going to use is what I call the inside stamp. So, oops, put it the right way. I'll go ahead and put that where I want. And I don't have to worry too much about it being straight on the paper because we're going to fussy cut this out. Give it a press down. And now I can take my Calypso Coral ink and I can ink it up. I think I've got enough ink on there. And we'll give it a light press. Don't have to press hard. And pull it up. Now, as you can see, I didn't get a very good impression that time. That's the beauty of the Stamparatus, is I can go in, ink it up, and I know I'm going to, when I stamp it down, excuse me, it's going to be in exactly the same spot. And I want a little bit more in that center part. And when you're using a big pad like this, it's sometimes hard to get there. And we'll just go ahead and give it a good press. And there we have it. The second part of the stamp, or the second layer I'm going to be using, I call the outline stamp. And I could take this off, put this down, and then clean off my plate and everything. But with the Stamparatus, I can simply lift the hinge, turn it over to where the stamp I've already used is on the outside, and now I can just go ahead and place down, protect my surface there. I'll take the outline stamp and put it where I want it. Pardon my head if it gets in the way. But I do want to try, I'm lining up these inside pieces as well as checking where what I call the eyes of the butterfly are there. Pretty happy with that. Now I can go ahead and put the Stamparatus lid down. My butterfly is secure, and I can ink it up. I'm going to concentrate on the middle again just because there's a little bow in my plate. I don't have anything under it keeping it stable. Although, come to think of it, I could have just put a block under and that would lift it up. Hey, how about that? Now it's probably going to be a lot easier to ink up. Excuse me. Slide this down and give it a good press. Not doing it hard, just making sure I have even pressure. And let's see how that did. Now I still have some on the outside here. I'm going to move my magnet back just a little bit, re-ink that side. Didn't have to re-ink the whole stamp, and give it a press again. The watercolor wings are supposed to look a little bit washed out because they are watercolor, but I definitely want to get a good outline. Even though we're going to have a set of floating wings on it, you will be able to see what's underneath. And I'm happy with that. So that's all the stamping we're going to do. I'm going to give my stamps a quick wipe. And I will clean them really well once I am done with this. And I'm just going to take the outside one off. I don't want anything to get on my mat. So I'll just put it like that and put it aside. Okay. Now comes the fun part. I get to color. I'm going to go ahead and take my light Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to color in any area that appears white. And I'm using the brush end. I don't even mind if it does show a few brush strokes if I don't get absolute coverage, because if you look at a butterfly's wings, they do have some striation in them. All right, that's all the coloring. The last step for this is to fussy cut it out. Now, to save time, because I have to stick my tongue out and take my time when I'm fussy cutting, I went ahead and cut one out already. I also cut out the wings. There's a die set that coordinates with the watercolor wings, and I don't have it with me, unfortunately. I will look it up and put it in the description, but I cut it out of our Dazzling Diamonds. Actually, I take that back. I cut this one out of the glimmer paper that was with the Myths and Magic. So it was one of the free celebration items available with a $50 purchase. And I'm going to glue the butterfly down to the base, but I want my wings to be able to stand up somewhat. So I'm just going to take and put glue only on the body of the butterfly. And you'll notice that on the one that I stamped, I didn't even bother with the butterfly body, because this is going to lay right on top of it. Let me bring the base back in. And I'm going to put liquid glue all over the back of the stamped butterfly because we do want it to lay flat. If you test it ahead of time and see that any areas of your butterfly are going to hang off, then just don't put any glue in that area. Mine fits pretty well. And then I'm going to press it down. I'm putting my fingers inside the box to support the top here so it doesn't smush in. All right, so we have that. And now the only place I'm going to put Tombow on the die cut wings is on the body. Before I do that though, I am gently folding up the wings and right where the body is, giving it a little press in to form kind of a crease, and that will help the wings stand up. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put my glue on the body. And just put it down, and you can line it up with the stamped image to see exactly where it should go. And then I'm going to just hold down the butterfly body and give it a time to set up. The glimmer paper has a very slick back if you don't peel the backing off, which I didn't. So I'm going to give it just an extra few seconds to set up before I try and lift my fingers away. And there you can see the wings float freely. Now I was very happy with that, but I realized I had kind of an open area down here in the bottom right, which is a perfect place for a sentiment. Using my lots of labels dies, and I used the second from the smallest, I went ahead and stamped a sentiment that's from Flourishing Phrases. It says, just a note. You could certainly use any sentiment you like that will fit in the area. And I stamped it in Calypso Coral. This one I'm going to prop up with Dimensionals because I do want it to stand away from the base, and that gives a little bit of a shadow behind it, also puts it up a little bit closer to where the wings are so that your eyes aren't having to go down to read your sentiment. So I'll bring out my Dimensionals here. I just used 2 of the regular size Dimensionals and put one at either side like that. And then I just need to peel them off. Put them in my holder so they don't float around. Bring back in my base. Figure out about where I want it and lightly put it down just in case I need to pull it up to maneuver it. And there we have our sentiment. I also wanted to add just an embellishment to that. So I took one heart from our enamel shapes in the Calypso Coral and just affixed it right down here on the bottom. And there you have it. That's all there is to make this cute little Post-it note holder. It will fit your standard size 3x3 Post-it notes, and there's even room in there that won't fit for a pen. Shorter pens tend to work better, but even a taller pen will fit in there. So play around with this. Get your favorite color of cardstock. Find some coordinating DSP, or like in my case, take something you can color and color it in, and then stamp up your butterfly, die cut the wings, and then do your sentiment. Easy breezy. As I mentioned, you can make one of these boxes from one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And the DSP has two pieces. One is, the big one is 3.5 by 3.5, and the front piece is 3.5 by 2.5. So you can actually get 4 pieces, or 4 note or post-it note holders out of one 12 by 12 sheet of DSP. Okay, what questions do you have about what we've made today? All right, just going through the comments really quickly. I will be sure and repost this video over on my Cards by Winnie page. I didn't want to just stop it and restart it because I had a hard enough time getting the orientation right and the connectivity. Once I had it all, I wasn't changing anything. So I'll make sure that I do post it over on my Cards by Winnie page. And it will also be on my blog and my YouTube channel. Speaking of which, if you'd like to visit my blog, I have the address up here. It's cardsbywinnie.wordpress.com. If you want to purchase any of the supplies that we used for today's project, they're all available over at my blog. Just click the Shop Now button and it will take you right to my shop where you can go ahead and place your order. I'd love to have you as a customer. If you do think of any questions after we've ended the live video, please just go ahead and drop me a note and I will be more than happy to get back with you. I'll list all of the supplies on my blog and in the YouTube description. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you on Saturday. Bye-bye now.